popping in my head was I need to travel. Since I've been spending the next several years in the US, I thought, why not take this chance to explore Europe first? So I packed in my bag and set off. I visited France, Switzerland, Iceland, but the most unforgettable part of the trip happened in Austria. After my parents flew back to China, I went to Vienna alone. That was my first time traveling abroad by myself. No one to rely on, no one to solve problems for me, just me figuring things out. I was nervous, but honestly, was more, more excited than scared. I was in Vienna for 3 days music festival. Before the trip, I connected with two people on Instagram. Lulu, a Chinese girl, and Ben, a German guy who had just finished his master's degree. We met up and drove to Vienna together. It was a long walk from the parking lot to the stage, and you could already hear the music from far away. People were singing, yelling, running. The energy was crazy. As we walked, Ben casually mentioned he just completed his degree. I wanted to say congratulations, but somehow I blurted out conclusion. They both froze and stared at me. I thought they didn't hear me, so I said it again. Conclusion. And then I realized what I said and quickly corrected myself. That little lunch fell kind of broke the ice. That night, we saw little TJ and Gunner. The crowd was innocent. Everyone was jumping and singing at the top of their lungs. I was right there in the middle of it, loving every second. The second night, favorite guy was on stage. I was so excited. I threw my t-shirt into the crowd, and of course, never got it back. But that was fine until I had to go back to my hotel. The train station was a disaster. Even the train didn't expect it so many people to get it. It was paralyzed with the explosion. Thousands of people stuck outside. The wind cut straight through me. I only had little scarf around my shoulder. I was shivering so hard, and I couldn't even speak properly. I waited in the cold for over an hour before finally getting on the train. By the time I made it back to my hotel, I had high fever, 105 degrees. I didn't want to tell my parents. I knew they panicked and maybe tell me to cancel the rest of the trip. But Ben texted me and offered to help. He showed up at my hotel at 4 a.m. with fever medicine. I couldn't believe he came. The next day, even though I still had fever, I couldn't skip the last show. Pascal was performing. I have waited for him. I have waited to see him live. Most of the pharmacy were closed on Sunday. I felt like my body was on fire, but I went anyway. I looked pretty funny in the crowd because I was wearing long pants and sweater, and everyone else was wearing shorts and t-shirts. But it didn't stop me from enjoying the show. Looking back, was it a small decision? Probably no. But would I do it again? Honestly, yes. That trip taught me more than any travel guide. I learned how to love myself, how to take care of myself, how to rely on strangers, and how to push those things were not going my way. I learned that being independent doesn't mean having everything controlled. It just means figuring things out as you go and being okay with math. It wasn't a perfect trip. I got lost, sick, sunburned. I made language mistakes. I lost my t-shirt. But I mean, memory I never forget. And I found kindness unexpected places. I felt like I wasn't a kid on vacation. I was somewhere growing to myself. Thank you.
Thank you, George. That was great. It was great to learn about your journey of independence and how that trip helped transform you. Also, life hack for anyone. He said he wore really baggy stuff when he was sick and he felt hot. Sweat it out. That's how you get over sickness. Just sweat it out. So that's a good life hack he also learned. All right, next. Please join me in welcoming up Blair.
I will never forget when I was 12. It's summer that changed everything for me. One moment, one conversation turned my life upside down. I learned a lot. I learned a lot of hard lessons about myself and about how to handle everything in my life. So in that time, I was in seventh grade in a boarding school. That was my first time away from my home. At first, I thought I loved it. No parents, no rules. It sounds like freedom. But after a few weeks, I started to feel overwhelmed. The school was hard. There were tons of assignments. Even after school, I couldn't rest. I feel like I started to resent it all. One night, I sit by the window in my dorm. I feel exhausted and angry, but mostly I feel scared. I missed home and I couldn't sure I can handle everything on my own. Then my roommate, Wan came over and asked me if I was okay. I snapped at her. I'm fine, just leave me alone. But the next day, things didn't get better. I didn't want to talk with anyone. I was ashamed about treating my classmate like that, but I know I'm just on the age. Then on a Friday's dinner, I tried to talk my parents that I didn't want to go to school. Then my mom said, "Why don't you want to go to school? You don't know how important it is. You have to do this." I feel my heart was pacing. Important. How about my feelings? You only care about my grades, not me. I hate you. Then I stormed off to my room. In the next hour, I paced back and forth. I didn't mean to hurt them, but I was too overwhelmed by everything that I couldn't think straight. When I was sitting on my bed, feel completely lost. My dad came in. He said softly, "I know everything's tough now, but you don't have to go through this alone." I couldn't hold it in anymore. I started crying. All the frustration, all the pressure came pouring out. He didn't try to fix it or rush me to feel better. He just listened. Then my mom came in. She said, "What can we do to help you?" That's when I feel something's important. My parents just wanted me to find a way to hold everything on my own way. So we made a plan at that summer. I would work on time management and try to make school feel more manageable. I stopped seeing school as something I have to endure and see school as a way to change myself. And most importantly, I know that it's okay to feel overwhelmed and it was okay to ask for help. Looking back, I feel like that life will always throw challenge your way. The key is not to avoid them, is to
join me in welcoming our last speech of the day, Ivan.
I was running as fast as I could. I felt the heat of the bottom of my feet as I gave all the energy that I had left. I felt myself quickly speeding up, my legs moving faster and faster, my arms pumping as hard as I could. I nervously peered over and saw a menacing shadow looming. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let me not get too ahead of myself. Let me go back in time about an hour ago. I was ready to go to practice. I had my water, my shoes, and everything else I could need. But then I realized something. Today was mile time trial day. If you don't understand what that means, I was doing a summer track program. And today was the day where I ran an all-out mile, just like a normal meet, except it was practice, and it wasn't going to go on the record. Anyway, as my mom began to drive me to practice, I felt more and more butterflies in my stomach as I got closer and closer to the track. When I finally arrived, I saw my other distance friends there, and I thought it was a good time to warm up. After my warm-up and my stretches, I was ready to race. After the 800-meter runners came around the final 200 meters and entered the final 100 meters, I cheered them on as they crossed the finish line. But then I realized something. It was me next. As I slowly walked towards the track, I felt the heat of the track growing ever so slightly until I stepped onto it. The warm clay heating my feet as I waited for the signal to begin. Runners to your marks, get set, boom, and just like that, we were off. As I began to waterfall into lane 1, I felt something was different, something was off, but I couldn't let it get to me. I needed to focus on the race at hand. And as I was behind my friend, his PR about 30 seconds faster than mine, but yet I felt I could keep up with him for this first bit. And as I began to get more confident with myself, and as I came through the final 200 meters and finished the first lap, I was too slow. I got a 1:16, and in order to reach my goal, I would have needed under a 1:15 each lap. So, as I started the second lap, I felt like cramps begin to form. And as I finally finished the second lap, I now had 6 seconds to make up. The third lap is the worst lap for every mile runner. They can understand the pain. Pretty much the whole time you're fighting your mind, your body, and just about everything else. And today was no different. The first turn, pain. The first straightaway, pain. Second turn, pain. And the last straightaway, pain. Pretty much the whole thing was pain. And I felt as though hot coals were being pressed against my feet as I ran. I felt the wind ever so slightly pushing me off my course, making me lose my hope. But as I looked in the distance, I saw that if I kept my current pace, I would have got a 1:15. This was not good, as it meant that I needed to run a 1:07 on my last lap to meet my goal, which for me on my last lap felt impossible. But I knew if I wanted to reach my goal, which is a sub-5 mile, I would have to put in the work. So as I crossed the finish line marking the end of the third lap, I started the fourth one, and I moved faster and faster. And after the first turn, it already felt much faster. I tried to hold that pace for the next 100 meters, and as I entered the final 200 meters, I pushed my legs to move just a bit faster. As I entered the final 100 meters, I was running as fast as I could. I felt the heat of the bottom of my feet as I gave all the energy that I had left. I felt myself quickly speeding up, my legs moving faster and faster, my arms pumping as hard as they could. I nervously peered over and saw a menacing shadow looming. It was the race timer. I suddenly realized I had finished the race. On one hand, it meant I was finally done. On the other hand, I meant that I had overlooked the race timer and I had to nervously await my results. But as I walked off the track and laid down on the hot turf, I felt an overwhelming sense of accomplishment as I had gotten through another mile and it felt pretty good. As the last person crossed the finish line, our coach said, "All right, I'm going to read out everyone's times now." As I nervously sat there awaiting the confirmation that I had indeed reached my goal, my coach said, "Wow, good job, Ivan. You got a 13-second PR of 4:53. I was so shocked. That means I ran a 1:02 on my last lap, which felt insane for me. And I really brought back the race. This 1:02 on the last lap meant a lot to me, as ever since COVID, I never thought I could bring my time back down from where it was before. And this race taught me a lot about hard work and determination. Whether you're facing a race, challenges at school or home, remember, never give up. Thank you.